and welcome to my first ever live stream on this channel. So I kind of decided that with the international break, basically football was boring these days. Welcome to my first football was boring these days, so I decided that I was actually going to create a live stream, get on here and hopefully talk to as many people where we can just chat football, we can just chat anything that you feel like chatting, but also go over some of the latest news, rumours, that kind of thing. So I wanted to get started off with obviously the video that I published yesterday regarding the contract situation surrounding Mo Salah, and obviously there's more rumours that have came out today talking about how Luis Diaz, it looks like he's going to be getting a new contract, so it'd be interesting to see whether that is going to be the case or not. So I'm just basically looking for some news on that, which we can go over in a bit more detail. We can talk about the way Liverpool performed at the start of the season, start talking about whether, how we think this season's going to go, where we think Liverpool's going to finish. But also I'm more than happy to talk about news from other football clubs as well. So yeah, let me know in the chat what topics you want to talk about, if you've got any questions, and then we can go from there. So I wanted to start off basically by going over obviously how I think that we've been performing in the league so far this season. Obviously things have been going well. That's not really anything special to talk about. We won 3 games, 2 games 2-0, 1 game 3-0, and we haven't conceded a single goal yet. So in my opinion, obviously the obvious answer is that the season's been going very well, everything's fantastic, but what has changed? What's really different from Klopp to Slot, and where do I think that this is going to continue to go from here? So personally, I think the biggest change obviously is the way that we build up. The way that we actually build up the football, the way that we progress the ball from the back, the way that Liverpool, we're not always as gung-ho now. Obviously, we've heard it a lot with the different commentators and everyone else that speaks about it, that Liverpool are a lot more reserved and a lot more controlled with the ball. We don't always look to Jojo Sounds. Hello, how are you? I hope everything is going well for you. First ever chatter. I hope you're proud of that. But yeah, so obviously we're a lot more controlled in possession these days. Build up from the back. We use the defenders, we use the goalkeeper, and so on and so forth. Jojo, let me know if everything sounds okay, if the video's okay, or if there's anything that I need to improve on it. Obviously, I've had to create a whole new OBS profile, so I don't have all of my settings from when I used to stream gameplay, so I don't know how brilliant it actually is. I do have the stream on my other monitor, and the picture looks like it keeps on flicking between good and not so good. But yeah. Maybe I can edit that. I do have the stream on my picture. Whoa, flicking between. Whoa, everything's going crazy. Let's see if this does anything. But yeah, anyway, so obviously we build up from the back a lot, which is the main thing, and we're a lot more controlled in possession. We like to keep the ball a lot more, and excellent. I love the fact it sounds good. Brilliant. So anyway, yeah, let's start to actually focus on this. Yeah, we're a lot more controlled in possession. We use the defenders a lot more now in terms of build-up play. We're not always gung-ho with flying as many players forward, which I think most of us would agree that last season, and even probably the season before, that when we was a lot more gung-ho and throwing players forward, we would tend to look a little bit weak in defence. We would often be exposed on counter-attacks, and I think that that's one of the issues that we had, was when a lot of teams know that we're going to have these problems, or we're going to be so open at the back, they do kind of sit back and play more counter-attacking football. And then we kind of had this thing where Liverpool would play the ball around the back, we would kind of pin them in their area, but then we was always always really one ball away from being counter-attacked. This time round, we're not really doing that. I don't think that we commit so many bodies forward. We're not always looking to rush to get players forward, and we always seem to have a good balance of like 4 players kind of defending and then 5 players or more kind of attacking, depending on what the situation allows from us. So, for example, in the Man United game, we always noticed that we had Robertson, who wasn't pushing very far forward. We had Van Dijk and Konate, who weren't pushing very far forward, and then either Gravenberch or McAllister, depending on which one was going forward at the time, what the other one would sit back. So we was always defending ourselves against counter-attacks, and I think that that worked out really well for us, especially against Man United. But I did notice in the Ipswich game, we obviously, it's the first game of the season, so you're always going to have a little bit of nerves, players still getting used to tactics, so on and so forth. But we did almost get caught out by a counter-attack from our corner, which they then nearly exposed us. But I think the biggest thing that I noticed, especially with the Ipswich game, is the players that are more willing to sort of, really sort of bust a gut and get back. Szoboszlai, on a number of occasions that I've noticed so far, he's willing to like really sort of stretch himself and just get back as quickly as he can. And I think that that's a new thing I've noticed, that we tend to not use as much energy during the game, but then if the situation changes, we'll obviously be, every single player will try and get back and defend the situation, which is really good. In terms of attacking, again, a lot more controlled. We're not always trying to rush the ball. Like, I think sometimes last season, and also probably the season before, if we would get the ball in and around the box, we would try and shoot. It was almost like we was looking to try and grab that first goal as soon as possible. And then if we didn't get the goal, it would start to, we'd try shooting from further and further out. We'd go for like long range shots. We'd go for shots from outside the box. We'd try, we'd see Diaz coming in outside the box shooting. Darwin would do it at times. But now we've kind of changed the way that we're doing it now. And it's almost like we're trying to get the ball in front of the goal. Yeah, 1 second. Put my phone on silent. By the way, I've been told to mention I've got a new stress ball. Yeah. So we are much more controlled. We're not afraid if we can't get the ball in front of the goal, we'll bring the ball out of the box. We'll pass it around, and then we'll look for the gaps. And I think the positions of the wide players also plays a very big part. So, for example, against Man U, we noticed sometimes Salah was staying wide, Diaz would stay wide, and then the movement of Jota or Szoboszlai would pull their defence and their centre-backs further and further apart. And then that would create these little gaps that we could get through. So I think that that's also been very good. But I think under Slot, we also do a lot of like in-game management. And I think this is one of the reasons why we beat Man U. So I'll touch on Man U a little bit, because obviously there's rumours coming out today that they're probably going to sack Ten Hag in the next few weeks, which I think from their point of view, getting rid of him would be the best thing that they could do. I know there's a lot of Man United fans who are still Ten Hag in, but I think, when you come into your third year, I still don't know what Man United style is. When you play against a team like Arsenal or you play against Man City, you know what to expect in the game. Whereas when you play against Man U, they don't really have any particular style. And I think he's trying to find one, but I think the way that Slot outclassed him was, I think that Ten Hag predicted the way that Liverpool was going to play. And then we made changes in the game. So, for example, Szoboszlai moving over to the left-hand side and Robertson sitting more back to create more of a back three kind of shape. I don't think that Ten Hag knew how to overcome that. I don't think he's very good at managing in-game. But that's something that I think Slot's very good at. I think when we're playing, Slot is able to sort of see areas and issues arising before they actually arise. And then from there, he's able to make the changes before they become a problem. So, for example, you take a look at the first game again against Ipswich and the issue with João Kwanzaa. I think that noticing something like he's not winning all of his duels, we heard the word duels about 72 times, but he noticed that and then made a change, and it wasn't just the João Kwanzaa thing, it was the way the defenders were lining up, obviously pre-half time. They were kind of on the D, just outside the box, opposite sides of that. And then in the second half, they was split much further wider, so almost spanning the full width of the box to basically take the pressure from being right in front of our goal, move it away, and then create more of the passing angles that we could try and get McAllister and Gravenberch into the game. And I think him noticing just these little things, for me anyway, I'm someone who, when I watch a game of football, I don't just watch it to see what happens. I love, when I grew up, me and my brother used to like stay up until 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'd watch any football games that were on. We'd watch the highlights, like match of the day. We'd then watch Dutch football, Italian football, and then end the night watching Argentinian football. And we always used to like analyze how each different team plays, like how is football played differently in the Netherlands compared to Argentina, and so on and so forth. So I love watching any team play and just analyzing how they line up and what things they do differently. So for example, how do Arsenal play in comparison to Liverpool? But then how do Liverpool change the way they play to counter Arsenal, but also look for ways to beat them? And the Man U game was like one that I found really interesting. But also the Ipswich game as well. I don't think we made too many changes throughout the game. I think we kind of set up with a tactic and we just looked comfortable all the way through it, so there was no need to change it. But in the Ipswich game, like him noticing just those little things, like we need to get the two centre-backs wider to be able to bring other players into the game. And then Joao Kwanzaa not winning his shorts, which, by the way, I feel really sorry for Kwanzaa. I think in pre-season, he was the best player. Like watching all of the pre-season games, there was one player who I consistently thought, yeah, he's going to have a big season this season, and it was Kwanzaa. I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. And I think, was it the Man United game where he done that like last-ditch sliding tackle to basically stop them from scoring? So yeah, I thought he was in for a massive season this season. I was kind of disappointed that, or not disappointed for him, that the first game of the season he then gets brought off at half time, and then now he's kind of waiting for Konate, who's having, in my opinion, the best season of it like so far. And I think it would take something quite big and monumental for him to be able to get back into the first team. Like Kwanzaa suddenly dipping off form, or, you know, I know Kwanzaa, there's always that worry he's going to get injured because he is relatively injury prone. But I can't see a way of Kwanzaa forcing his way back in. Obviously, cup competitions are going to be coming up soon, so that'll be his chance. Champions League will put on more fixtures, so then there's a chance there that we might start rotating the squad a bit more. So, for example, if we've got Leverkusen, we'd obviously want to put a strong squad out against that, and then we would field different players in the Premier League. But then if we've got, for example, a Man City coming up, I know we've got like Man City and Real Madrid like right after each other, but we'd look to rotate the team around a bit more, and then Kwanzaa will get some more game time. But I do feel sorry for him that he's had to sit out and watch Konate just put in beastly performances after beastly performances. I think Konate, Gravenberch, and Szoboszlai have been my three. I'm going to say underrated players so far. I know Gravenberch is getting a lot of praise, but when you see how Diaz is scoring all of his goals the way that Salah's playing, I don't think that people really, or at least when you're watching the game on Sky Sports, they don't really give nods to players like what Gravenberch done in the opening 3 games, the engine and the work rate of Szoboszlai in the opening 3 games, and also the work that Konate has been doing as well. So, yeah. But let me know anyway in the chat, who's been your standout player so far this season? I think for me, it'd have to be Gravenberch, wouldn't it? If you was going to pick one, it would have to be Gravenberch. But yeah, let me know who's your standout player. So yeah, and then we come to the international break, and I'm not going to lie, the international break it couldn't have come at a worse time. Like, football is really good at the moment. Obviously, for being a Liverpool fan, we're loving it at the moment. We've not even conceded a goal. Like, literally, if you could plot a start of the season, you wouldn't get one as good as this, because we literally have won all 3 games. We've scored multiple goals in each game, and we haven't conceded a single goal. And then included in those games is a trip to Old Trafford. and then you look at the fallout that's happened as a result of that trip to Old Trafford, you can't argue this has been probably the perfect start to a season ever. So yeah, I think that it's all been going quite well. And then we come to an international break, and there's just not really a great deal to talk about. So yeah. But I suppose there has been a few things that have come out. So Zubamendi today, he had his international press conference where they asked him about why he didn't join Liverpool, and there's a few questions on there, such as did any of your friends or your teammates, did they say anything and try and convince you to stay? And he said no, it was basically all of his decision. Diaz, I think Diaz has been good. I think with Diaz, I don't think I would be alone in saying that one of the things we really want to see from him is consistency. With Diaz, he always seems to have these these spells where he'll go and score a few goals. He'll bail us out of trouble sometimes. I remember not last season, but the season before, I do believe, games like Crystal Palace where we were losing 1-0, then he whips the ball in and makes it 1-1. And he has these moments, but it's never consistent from him. He'll then suddenly phase out, and then we won't really see him for X amount of games. Then he'll come back and pop up with another goal, then he'll phase out again, and so on and so forth. But from the start, we've seen good consistency from him. Even if you take in the last sort of pre-season friendly that he was involved in, he scored in that. I think he got 2 in that as well, if my mind serves me correctly. He got 2 against Sevilla. Obviously, didn't score against Ipswich, but I don't think he particularly played bad in that game. And then going on to score against Brentford, and then grabbing 2 against Man United. I think that Diaz, he's made a very, very good start to the season, 100%. But I just want to see him continue that. I'm not saying I expect to see him get Jota. I think Jota's one of those where you always get the same sort of level from him. I think he was good. Obviously scored the goal against Ipswich. Again, if you really want to, you can go to the preseason game against Sevilla with that volley, which was stunning. If you've not seen the volley against Sevilla, I highly suggest going to check it out. It was brilliant. Scored against Ipswich, was pivotal in the breakaway for Diaz's goal against Brentford. I think in Man U he had a very underrated game, and the reason why I say this is because if you watch, for example, Diaz's first goal, it's Jota's run. So the way that they are, so for example, if you imagine, I think it was like a 5v3. So you've got the 3 Man United players here, and Casemiro's a bit further back, and Jota runs sort of in between them, and then drags all 3 of them over to one side, and then you can see him pointing to basically say, look at Diaz behind me. And then obviously the ball goes out to Salah, he crosses it in, and Diaz and Szoboszlai are completely unmarked at the back. But I think it's that movement from him that it often goes under the radar. The work rate that he has in games and that sort of intelligence is brilliant. I always remember, was it Brentford last season as well, with that little header that played Darwin in before he chipped the goalkeeper. He seems to have a good knowledge of what's going on around him, and then he seems to know what movement to make to be able to maximise not just for himself, but a goal-scoring opportunity. There was one occasion against Man U where I thought he could have done better. I think he was kind of breaking into the box, and then rather than actually doing something, he kind of turned and ran into De Ligt and got tackled. But other than that, yeah, I think he's had a pretty solid start. What's your thoughts on Gravenberch so far, Jojo Sounds? Do you think he's had a good start to the season? I think the answer to that question is quite obvious. What's your opinion on Robertson as well? Actually, we'll talk about players that have kind of, not the ones that are well spoke about. What's your thoughts on Robertson? How do you think he's started the season? I think that I'll let you answer before I start talking about that. But yeah, Jota's been good. Diaz has definitely been good. Salah has obviously been exceptional. I think it comes to a point where at the moment we're not really talking about our defenders because we've just looked solid. Van Dijk has just been solid. He's been the same as always. Konate has just been solid. He's had a really good start to the season since he came in against Ipswich. Trent, I think against Ipswich, he didn't look great in the first half, but then I thought he grew into the game. I think against Brentford, he was good. I think against Man U, again, I think at the opening 20 minutes against Man U, I don't think Trent was amazing, but I don't think he was bad either. And then I think he grew into the game. I think that inverted role really suits him. I think when he started doing that, we started bossing possession, and then that's when the game really started to turn from that point of view. So I think Trent's done really well. Alisson, he's probably had the quietest start to the season that he could have expected, although I do think that he's come alive when he needs to. So, for example, the save against Xerxes, both of them. I think he done those two very, very well. But obviously, you'd expect that from the best goalkeeper in the world. The thing I liked about the Xerxes save, not the header, the shot that he had, was that you can see Alisson already taking a step in that direction before he shoots. He knows where he's gonna go, and he preempts it. And then part of me thought that with Salah's goal, that Onana, at the start, it looked like Onana was trying to do the same thing. It looked like he was stepping, expecting Salah to shoot in the far corner, and then Salah just went near post and makes him look stupid. Yeah, Gravenberch's been really, really good. I think he's been the standout player, mainly because obviously of all the stuff that's gone on with the number 6, but also he just really grew into that position as well. I think he's made it his own now. I think he's made it his own to the point where I know it's really early to call it, but if Liverpool didn't go for that £50 million number 6 and trusted Gravenberch, at the moment I'm okay with that. I'm almost willing to say that we've kind of been proven wrong so far with the whole Zubimendi, and it's him or no one. Maybe I know it's quite early to call it, but Gravenberch does look really good in that position, and I would like to think that it's now Gravenberch's position to lose. Basically, is what I think. I think that I wouldn't like to see us. I know the transfer window's shut, so it's unlikely to happen, but I think in January, rather than us go out and spend that 50 million on another player, whether or not you believe the rumours of Zubimendi coming back in, which I don't believe, and also I'm well aware it's far too early to call it, but I would like to see Gravenberch really develop in that position. I also think that from the press conference when we loaned out Bajcetic, that I think the long-term plan is for Gravenberch to be the number 6 and then Bajcetic to also be a rotation option. So one of the things I've also kind of noticed is that Slot likes to have 2 players in each position. So you think left back, we've got 2 players. Right back, we've got 2 players. Centre back, we've got 4, really. So, yeah, 4 in centre back. And then midfield options, I think when you look at Gravenberch and Endo, you would probably argue that Endo's a weak link in the squad. And also, I don't think Endo can do what Gravenberch is doing anywhere near the standard of what Gravenberch is doing. Now, that's not me trying to be disrespectful to Endo, because I also do think that Gravenberch wouldn't be able to play that number 6 destroyer role as well as what, for example, Endo could. So I think that maybe we could look to bring in a backup option for Gravenberch, but I think Bajcetic is going to be the long-term option for that when he comes back. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't revisit the number 6 in January, to be quite honest with you. Which then would mean, what would Liverpool need to strengthen? Probably centre-back, I'd say we'd need to strengthen in January. And left back as well, actually. I don't think Tsimikas is great. And I think, although I do think Robertson's had a decent start to the season, I don't think that we can really start considering him to be a long-term option now. So centre-back and left-back, I think, would be our January, the players we'd look to sign in January. But yeah, anyway, going back, Zubimendi, rumours. So in the press conference, he was asked certain questions like, was it his friends basically that convinced him to stay? And he said no, it was his decision. He loves Sociedad. They're his club. He loves them. He grew up with them. They're all he knows. They're all he wants to know. And that's basically the reason why. And I think when you hear that, obviously, I think there is a point where he's not going to turn around and be all like, "Oh yeah, I'm really disappointed. I wish I'd go to Liverpool." So obviously, you can't rule that out. But also with the reports that were coming out from, I think Ornstein and Romano both came out and started talking about Zubamendi, and they were saying that I think with Ornstein, he said he wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool revisited it in January, and then he spoke about the similarities between this and Van Dijk signing from Southampton. Now, obviously, the difference between those two, as I said in a video that I'd done yesterday, is that Van Dijk wanted to join Liverpool, and it was the negotiating with Southampton that was the problem. With Zubamendi, we already knew what the deal was going to cost us, and it was the buyout clause. I think it was 50 million euros, but I could be wrong. It could be a little bit more than that. It was Zubamendi that rejected the chance to join us. So that, for me, is what makes it less likely that it's going to happen. There's no similarities, in my opinion, between Van Dijk. The only similarity would be that we went for Van Dijk in the summer. We didn't get him. We'd go again in January. That would literally be the only similarity. It wouldn't be anything to do with the actual what's around the transfer, because obviously Zubamendi didn't want to join us. He said no, he wanted to stay at Sociedad. So I would be surprised if we revisited that, if I'm completely honest. And then Ornstein, I think he said that he has no idea. So I'm not sure why he's being quoted as someone who's suggesting it could happen. I'm pretty sure his words were he has no idea what's going to happen with it. But I do think that Liverpool's representatives and his representatives have remained in contact. I think that the way that he gave Richard Hughes a phone call to reject them is also kind of leaving the door a little bit open, if you want to say that. So you never know, but I'll be honest, from my point of view, I'm quite bored about hearing anything about Zubamendi right now. Like, he rejected us and Gravenberch has been fantastic. I'm kind of happy that that situation has played out the way that it did play out. So if you do hear more stories and speculation coming out about it, I would just say be careful, because you never know what's going to happen. And then also I wanted to talk about the contract situation. So I mentioned at the start, obviously there's now talk coming out that Liverpool are going to offer Luis Diaz a contract, which I thought was typical Liverpool. So when you think about Liverpool, we've got 3 contracts that we really need to sort out, and then we go and offer Luis Diaz one instead, who is not one of those contracts that we need to sort out. I think this might be in some way. I don't think Diaz is on a high wage. I think I saw today it was only like 50,000 a week. Evening Benj, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Yeah, I think I saw that Diaz was on 50k a week. But I think because of all the speculation and rumours linking him with Barcelona, this new contract may be a way of making Barcelona back off, basically. But I think Barcelona have got some financial troubles again. I think they were looking to do a deal with Nike for their shirts, and then that was going to give them more money. Very well. Glad to hear it. So, Benj, are you a Liverpool fan? Yeah, so I think the reason why Barcelona didn't come in for Diaz is because they don't have the money for it. So I think offering him a new contract is probably a reward, but also the way that he stays. I'm doing good. I'm not going to lie, the international break has been very, very boring. Especially when you're trying to like do as much stuff as you can around football. Like, you have like this high of Birmingham City fan. Cool. Well, you've got a lot to be excited about these days. Although didn't you? Is it Warsaw that you played yesterday in the cup and lost on pens? I do believe. I could be wrong there. I'm not 100%. I completely forgot my train of thought as well. Yeah. So with Diaz, I think that might be the case with him. So in terms of Mohamed Salah, I made a video yesterday. Obviously, there's more stuff that's been coming out about how Salah would like to stay at the club. The club would like to keep Salah. So I think that there possibly could be something that we do there. In terms of Bristol Street Motors 1-1. Is that the name of the cup now? The Bristol Street Motors Cup. That's the weirdest name for a cup I've ever seen. What was it? It used to be called like the... Not, it wasn't like the Leyland DAF and then the LDV vans or something, was it? New team, new philosophy, new style, mentality, very exciting. Yeah, I think with Birmingham though, like I think as soon as you got rid of the old owners, there was always that thing to be excited about. And I think the Birmingham City owners kind of ruined it for you by appointing Wayne Rooney, of all people, to be your manager. So, yeah. Have you been watching much Premier League? Have you seen much Liverpool games? Have you seen much much Arsenal, Man City? Who's your tip to win the Premier League as well? See that, how I remember Leyland DAF and LDB vans. All knowledge right there. Who's your tip to win the Premier League? And also, if you want being as you're a Birmingham City fan, who's your tip to where do you think Blues will finish in the league as well? Yeah, so anyway, back to Mo Salah. So the latest stories coming out from Fabrizio are that he wants to stay at the club. Do I think Liverpool will win silverware this year? Watch Liverpool United. Liverpool absolutely smashed them. Yeah, win silverware. Is that the order of what you think they're going to finish? So you think Arsenal first, Man City second, Liverpool third, Spurs fourth? Or is that just the top four and you've got no real... So in terms of silverware this year, I think it'll be tough for us to win silverware this year. I don't think we're going to win the Premier League. So I think whilst we've had a really good start, I think that us winning the Premier League would take a monumental effort from a bunch of players who finished third last season. I do think we'll still finish in the top four. I think we'll finish third. To be honest with you, my top four is pretty much the same as yours, minus Spurs. I don't think Spurs are going to finish in the top four. So I think the top three will be Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool. And at the start of the season, I thought Arsenal would finish first as well. I don't know who I'd say would finish fourth. I don't think Spurs have looked great because they drew to Leicester opening game of the season. They beat Everton, but I don't think that that's like a real big shocker. I think everyone's going to beat Everton this season. And then they lost to Newcastle. So, yeah, I'm not sure about Spurs. I don't think Man U will finish third. I'll be honest, I think Man U could finish like around where they finished last season again. Like it's still very early in the season, I know, but I've not been impressed with the way Man U've played. I think Fulham, so with the Fulham game, I said in the video, I think it was my post-match review of that game, that the first game of the season, you just want to get the 3 points. The actual performance isn't that important. You just need to go out there, get the win, call it a day, and then you build from there. But then against Brighton, I didn't see the game, but I've heard a lot of people say they played better, but then they still lost 2-1. And their defending for both goals was shocking. And then against Liverpool, I just think that they were, like the opening 20 minutes, maybe, they looked okay. But other than that, I thought they were shocking. But I think I also I'm a bit disappointed with, like, I know I'm not including the fan channels in this because obviously the fan channels we're all going to be buzzing and we're all going to be talking about the way Liverpool performed. You'll get some fan channels that want to banter United, and that's fine. I love that. I love watching those. But then when you watch it from like a Man United point of view, but also if you watch, for example, Sky Sports, or if you watch like these big channels that review the weekend thing, they more talk about the way that Man U performed as opposed to the way that Liverpool performed. And I think whilst, yes, you could say Man United played poor, which they did, I think Liverpool was set up in a way to exploit anything in their game plan. Like, even if you listen to the way Slot spoke at the end of the game, and he basically broke down Man United's tactics. He said about how they're going to push their fullbacks higher up the pitch. So that's how he knew to keep Salah and Diaz wide and get in behind them. And the use of Szoboszlai to make sure that Diaz was always going to be singled out and open on that one side. I think that his use of Gravenberch and McAllister. So if you look at like the average position, it looked more like McAllister was actually the number 6 than Gravenberch. But they were kind of like chopping and changing. When McAllister pushed forward to win the ball, Gravenberch would sort of tuck in and do that sort of defensive role. And then vice versa. But also Gravenberch's performance, the way he was aggressive and intercepting the ball. I thought that the way we switched to having like a back 3 and then using Trent to create more of those passing options as well. So with his tucking in to create an extra body in that midfield. I think that the way Liverpool played and set up, actually, if Man United played poor, the way that Liverpool was set up was designed to exploit every ounce of that. And it was just a really good game. I think in terms of winning silverware, I think it'll be very difficult this season. I don't think we'll win the Premier League. I think we'll finish 3rd. In terms of Champions League, I think that's going to be incredibly difficult as well. I don't think we'll win the Champions League. I think if, for example, you look at the teams that could win it, obviously us playing Madrid's going to be a massive test. Yo, Kenyenke. I've really just butchered your name. I apologise. I'm good, man. How are you? Yeah, I think that we won't win the Champions League. I'd like to think that we'll go through this knockout stage thing that we're in now. Is it a group stage with the 8 games? I think we'll go through that. But I don't think we'll win it. So then we're looking at the cups. The first match of the day was in 1964, and the game was Liverpool v Arsenal. Oh, I learnt an interesting stat today as well. I think Liverpool's biggest ever loss was against Birmingham City. I thought you'd enjoy that. Let me just double check that. I'm sure it was to Birmingham City. Yeah, so Liverpool's record defeat was on the 11th of December 1954 against Birmingham City. We lost 9-1. Liverpool's the first coloured TV game in 1969. Was Liverpool in the red kit? From West Ham. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Kenyenke. I really appreciate that. I think I've only been going for like a month, so it's still early days. But thank you. And also let me know if like you watch any videos or anything, and you think, oh, this would look better, or you want me to talk about a particular topic. Let me know. More than happy to do it. I mean, you say we're Birmingham City. We beat who we want. Considering the fact you got relegated last season, did you just not feel like beating a lot of teams? You know, you just kind of thought, oh, we could beat you, but we don't want to beat you, so we're going to get relegated first. I'm also pretty sure that Liverpool wore blue originally as well, before red. There's an interesting fact for you. Yeah. You know it's bad, though, when a Birmingham City fan comes into your chat and tries to banter you. Because you lost a game against them in 1950-something. Kenyenke, what do you think, anyway? Do you think Liverpool are going to win silverware this season? I think, in answer to that question, no, Benj, I think we've got a chance in the cups, maybe. So I wouldn't be surprised if, say, we won the League Cup or the FA Cup. But I don't think we'll win the league or the Champions League. Who knows, though? Slot could go on a mad one. He already seems to have started going on a mad one. I think as well, if you look at our next upcoming fixtures, I know we've got Forest. So let me just get the fixtures up. So yeah, we've got Forest next. This isn't including Champions League either, because I know we've got Forest and then Milan. But Forest at home, Bournemouth at home, Wolves away, and then Palace away. I think if we win against Forest, Bournemouth, and Wolves, that would mean that Slot has got the record for the most victories after starting joining the club. One Gravenberch injury away from losing our shit. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I've been saying. I've been really impressed with Gravenberch, but my concern is what happens if he gets injured. Also, like, not even just with the injuries. Like, if you look at our like upcoming fixtures, for example, so we have on the 14th, we have Nottingham Forest. On the 17th, we have Milan. On the 21st, Bournemouth. On the 25th, West Ham. On the 28th, we've got Wolves. So like, that's a lot of fixtures to have in such a short amount of time. Like, surely Gravenberch can't play in all those games, and not the way that we want him to play. Like, he's not going to be able to churn out performances like he did against Man U, because he's just going to be like game after game after game. And I really don't think Endo can step it up. Like, I like Endo. I've got respect for what he done last season. But he can't do what Gravenberch has been doing. He can't be that player who's going to drive the ball forward. He hasn't got much of a passing range, I don't think. He's like good at tackling, and then that's about it. And I know that sounds disrespectful, but that's just what Endo is. So yeah, I do worry about what we're going to do if Gravenberch gets injured. I know Tyler Morton's also an option as well, but considering I think Liverpool said in the transfer window that we would be willing to accept offers for him, I don't think that he's in Slot's plans, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. And then bench. Jones. Do you see Jones as a DM though? Because I don't. I can see Jones be more of a backup to McAllister, not necessarily Gravenberch. So bench, going back to what you said about the Champions League, yes, our fixtures are hard, but I think one of the good things, though, if you look at our fixtures, the harder ones, I think we've all got at Anfield. So I think we've got Leverkusen at Anfield. I think we've got Madrid at Anfield. Is Bologna's at Anfield? Is Leipzig at Anfield? Girona away. But yeah, I think the harder fixtures we've got at Anfield, so that's something. And do Liverpool have the funds to spend big? We should do. I mean, we had a £115 million offer for Caicedo not long ago. Leipzig away. I think it might be PSV. Then we've got Anfield. We offered big, obviously, for Caicedo, so we do have funds there to spend, and we've made a profit in this transfer window. Are Milan the same team as before, though? I don't feel like. Don't get me wrong, they've got a lot of heritage and stuff, but I don't feel like Milan are the tough opponent that they used to be. So yeah, I don't see why Liverpool don't have the funds. Plus, you know, they said we were ready to activate Zubamendi's release clause, or his buyout clause rather, and that was 50-something million euros. So I do think we have the money. I just don't think that the owners want to spend it. That's my opinion. See him as an option there, but I'm with you. Backup. Yeah, backup for McAllister is what I think. I wonder if there's a way of me bringing this up on screen. I'm not gonna lie, I'm new to this streaming, talking. Like, I used to stream games before, so it would be nice for me to be able to pin the chats on the screen. PSV. Okay, I'm doing terrible with my away games. I know we have Leverkusen and Madrid both at Anfield, and those are probably the two hardest games that we have to play. So I think that's good. I think we've got Bologna at Anfield, and I'm sure there's one more as well. Yeah, I agree with what Kenyenke said. We should have the funds, but we're just extremely picky. I think that's kind of telling when we went for Zubamendi, and then when he rejected us, and we was like, oh, it's him or no one. I think Liverpool are just really, really picky. I think I heard someone say something before that Liverpool are the kind of club that like they're starving, but they're only willing to accept the best quality steak. They're not willing to accept like a Big Mac, which I found quite funny, and it's actually quite accurate as well. But yeah, we should have the funds. I don't see any reason why we're not. What games did I play? Literally a mixture of everything. So, Football Manager, obviously, FIFA, Call of Duty. This sounds like me. I assume that the sounds like me comment is in reference to the wanting, obviously not the steak, but not willing to accept the Big Mac. Yeah, so Call of Duty, and then like on my PC, I've got loads of games like Ground Branch, The Division 2, Ready or Not, like those kind of games. I'm more of a tactical shooter and football kind of game fanatic. But I'm the same in terms of game hopping. The reason why I didn't I've stopped streaming games is because I don't think I ever loved one game enough to want to just like continuously play that one game. I always got bored of it, and it would always be a case of I'd play Call of Duty and I'd feel like playing FIFA. And when you're streaming, if you've got an audience that like watching Call of Duty, they're not gonna like watching you play FIFA afterwards. So that was always fun. But yeah, I think probably Football Manager is the one game that I play consistently, because I do think I'm a manager, but I'm probably not a manager. But yeah. Anyway. Shroud's new game. Spectre. Let me just write that down. Spectre. I like tactical games, so that's fine with me. Spectre Divide. FIFA 25 is out at the end of the month. I've got it pre-ordered, so I think I get it on... Is it September 20th? I think I get it. But I'm not going to lie, I played the demo, and it looked shit. I wasn't that impressed with the demo. I think I played like 3 games on the demo and then turned it off and deleted it. The beta, sorry, not the demo. I genuinely wasn't that impressed with it. But I imagine the final release of the game will be better. So, Benj, you watched the Man United game. Have you watched much of the Premier League? Like, I know a lot of people who aren't in the Premier League, or who support teams that aren't in the Premier League. Do you have like a Premier League team? Like, who's your Premier League team? So I haven't pre-ordered. Well, I'll let you know if I think it's good or not. As I say, I wasn't impressed with the beta. I thought the beta was pretty pants, to be honest. I also wasn't that impressed with FC 24. I thought that was a bit terrible. So yeah. Just move this monitor up a little bit. Oh, God, that up too high. Arsenal. Ooh. What do you think? Was it a red card for Declan Rice or was it not? I'll let you answer, then I'll give you my opinion. I'll put it out to everyone actually in the chat. Jojo, Kenyenke, anyone else who's watching. Was Declan Rice's a red card? Let me just mute this while I do this. By the letter of the law, yes, he kicked the ball away, which is a yellow. Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that. I genuinely, that's literally my thoughts. I think Declan Rice was stupid. I think he shouldn't have gave the referee a decision to make. I think that him kicking the ball away, like, I understand some of the criticism towards the referee because obviously João Pedro booted the ball away. But this is one thing that makes me laugh though. Like, if you watch a lot of streams on YouTube, they say that Arsenal were 100% cheated and referees hate each other. Referees hate Arsenal, sorry. And I'm sitting there watching these thinking, does everyone forgot, like, Odegaard's handball against us last season? He played basketball to get the ball out of the area, as like everyone just forgot that that happened, because to me that suggests that the refs and VAR don't hate them, or if they do, they hate Liverpool more. For me, it was a red card. Like, he kicked the ball away. I know Brighton knew he was doing that. Oh yeah, okay. So I 100% think that I forgot what the defender's name is, but he booted Declan 100%. Done nothing. What, where he was playing basketball inside his own area last season. But yeah, Rice kicking the ball. It 100%. Like, I know people can say like, oh, the ball was rolling and stuff like that, but he kicked the ball out of play, so it stopped. It delayed the restart. It's a yellow card. I think there is an argument about consistency. So obviously João Pedro booted the ball away and got nothing. Then they could argue what the Brighton defender needed or deserved for booting out of Declan Rice. But I don't think anyone can say it wasn't a red card. For me, it was a red card. Odegaard done nothing wrong. Stealing up my mug off them. But yeah, and you think that Arsenal are going to finish top? Yeah, I agree. I think that that's the only argument, though. I think that the only argument that you can have is purely on that basis that João Pedro should have had a yellow card earlier. And I would agree with you on that. But just because João Pedro should have had a yellow card doesn't mean that Declan Rice shouldn't have had one. Like, I think that Declan Rice still deserved his. And then you argue João Pedro deserved one as well. But not that because João Pedro didn't get one, Declan Rice shouldn't have got one either. Like, I think that they're two separate incidents and you look at them separately. Howard Webb. I mean, consistency is the biggest problem. 100%. I think that the handball rule definitely needs to be looked at. I think the amount of times you see a player, like, I don't like the handball rule anyway. I think that when you're jumping, like, you use your arms to jump, so your hand's going to be up, and then that often gets called like in an unnatural position. And I think you see so many times a player, like, if you're running, you can't just stop with your arms by your side. Like, you know, you use your arms a lot in your movement. And then if the ball strikes you on the hand, it's handball. But then you'll see almost exactly the same thing happen. I think, wasn't there something with Kovacic, maybe, against Chelsea? And nothing happened there when the ball hit him on the arm? And it's like, no, that's fine. That happens. The handball rule for me is the one that really needs to change. But then you look at, for example, McAllister getting kung fu kicked by Jeremy Doku. That wasn't a penalty. And then you look how desperately VAR trying to find a penalty in other times. Like, the one thing I will say is I think VAR spends too much time trying to find a reason to disallow a goal when they should be, like, allowing the ref to do his job. Otherwise, what's the point in having the ref on the pitch? Like, you see so many times that a goal goes in, then they'll check, was it offside? Was there a foul in the build-up? Was there a foul here? Oh, yeah, I remember the Chelsea one, yeah. Prem refs are better than the EPL, the EFL. I mean, how bad are they in the EFL? I don't necessarily think it's the referees that's the problem. Or the refs are a problem to a degree, in my opinion. But I think that I think VAR is probably like the worst of it. Because like if a referee makes a mistake, surely VAR is there to correct it. So if we're talking about the standard of refereeing in the Premier League, like the referees, because VAR is introduced, shouldn't be able to make a mistake, in my opinion. Like it should just be, that's it now, it's done. But I think that because VAR is so bad and they spend so much time not looking for reasons to cancel a goal, and then they look at something that, like, which one was it now? There was a Liverpool sending off. I think it might have been Curtis Jones. No, sorry, it was the McAllister sending off against Bournemouth last season, where they done like VAR was checking it on like a still image, and on a still image it looks like a bad tackle, but when you watch it in normal time, it's just two players going for the ball. It's 50-50. But because they didn't bother watching it like be played, they just looked at the still image. It looked like McAllister had like made an awful challenge, and then that was like, okay, it's a red card. It's like, isn't VAR there to try and like cut out these things from happening? Not. So I don't think the referee gave a red. I think it was VAR in that case. Do you have VAR in the EFL? I don't think you did last season, in the Championship at least. I'm not sure if VAR's been introduced. But I mean, yeah, I think that refereeing needs to be looked at. I agree. I think that they should have if I think they should have like someone on the VAR panel who is like a trained referee and someone who used to play football, and then have like whoever uses the tech or whatever to do their part, but have like one professional referee, one ex-professional in there, and then that should be the VAR panel. Well, if you want, you know, we can start a petition tonight to get VAR in the EFL. I'll sign it. Can have VAR at St Andrews going forward. So, as well, another question. How are you guys finding the international break? Is it everything you expected it to be? So I'm not going to lie, I'm bored of international breaks. I completely agree. There was an occasion before where I think they were checking an offside, and they was like looking like sort of diagonally down at it, and you're like, how, like, what are you doing there? And they're like, yeah, I don't understand what they do sometimes. I mean, VAR though, it does work well in other countries. So, for example, in La Liga, they have VAR working like well. I think Bundesliga has VAR as well, and that works quite well. They also have like very like easy to follow rules on things. I think if it hits you on the hand in the box, it's a penalty. Like there's none of this in between subjectivity. You know, was the player leaning towards the ball? Like for example, the Bournemouth disallowed goal against Newcastle. Like it hit him here. Like how is this handball? Like literally, how is this handball? Wait, so in League One you still play international breaks, but because you have more than 3 internationals, your game gets postponed. Is that the same across all teams? If you have more than a certain number of players, your games gets postponed during an international break. So you're like, when did League One start? I'm pretty sure that the League One and League One, League Two, and Championship all start before the Premier League. I find the international break boring. Like, does anyone really follow international football when the season's on? How can you start the Premier League and then 3 games in, you've already got a break? It's ridiculous. It really is. When you say the stadiums as well won't be able to accommodate VAR, what is it they need to accommodate? Just the people in the studio or the TVs? Or is there like they need to have like actual technology fitted. Okay. No. I mean, it makes sense. It'd be unfair if Blues had to play a game. Let's say, for example, it was like a top of the table clash, and you had to play your game, but then your game got postponed. Sorry, your game didn't get postponed, and then you ended up losing the game because you had a lot of players out on international duty when the team that you was playing didn't. Like, I understand that. The Spain youngsters, yeah. Where are you from, Kenyan K? I always do the same thing as well. Whenever it's like the Euros, like I like watching the Euros and the World Cup, but I always tend to try and not get excited about it. And then as England start to play, I get more and more excited. And this year, like the Euros was a lot different, obviously, because I don't think we played well at any single point. Yeah, I was like, by the time I was in the final, I was like one of those England football hooligans. Like, I even bought a Come On England napkins, and then obviously that went well. 42 cameras. Trinidad and Tobago. Nice. So wait, with Trinidad and Tobago, do they class as Copa America? Or do I sound completely stupid there? VAR needs 42 cameras, including slow and ultra slow motion cameras, as well as cameras using offside technology and all FIFA host broadcaster camera feeds to ensure that VAR has the best angle. Oh, okay. I can see why it hasn't been introduced yet. I always thought it was meant to be like introduced in the Premier League, and then if it worked, they would then like scale it across all other divisions. But I suppose they still haven't figured out how to make it work in the Premier League yet, which is bad. Yeah, I can never pronounce that. Stern John. The CONCACAF. Stern John, the person whose name was wrote backwards. But yeah, I think VAR's been terrible. I think the international break is boring. I remember Crouch. I remember that. Oh, Peter Crouch. 2 meter Peter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, his name he was meant to be called John Stern, but someone wrote his name the wrong way around to Stern John. Is Dwight York from Trinidad and Tobago? Or am I thinking about that wrong? I'm sure Dwight York was Trinidad and Tobago. That's because Stevie G was a legend. Stevie G. All right then. Let's have that. Let's have that question nice and early. I forgot to open my window, so all my vape is now smoking up the room. Yeah, Dwight York. I knew he was. Who's the best out of Stevie G, Lampard, and Paul Scholes? What should we do? Was it buy one, bench one, sell one, or start one, bench one, sell one? Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you know, the gaffer just said to me like, go out there and kick the football, so that's what I did. And then I went to Saudi. That's my Steven Gerrard impression. I know it's really, really good. Who's the comedian who does the impressions? Where he does the Jamie Carragher one where he goes like, Can I remember what his name is, but he's quite funny. Start Gerrard, bench Scholes, sell Lampard. Controversial. I would start Gerrard, bench Lampard, sell Scholes. Benching Lampard? Look at his goals. He's on the record goal scorer list. What's Scholes ever done for football? I think you've had a mare there doing that. But yeah, anyway. Farley. Oh, yeah. Farley, yeah. Darren Farley. I remember him now. He does. I think I've seen him recently. He does like impressions now of Sean Dyche. And he does like the gravelly voice quite well as well. Like, oh, yeah, I thought we played really well against Bournemouth until, we kicked off. Like he does I quite like his impression. He started doing an Arnie Slot one as well, but I don't think it was very good. I haven't seen him on the overlap yet. I think I saw one. Oh, did I see him in one? I think he was in one with Carragher, and they were talking about transfers or something. Can't remember what it was. He seems quite critical of Man U these days, which is always funny when you see the ex-Man U professionals. I think it's like you have every single player who used to play for Man United, and they're all like, give them time, things will turn around, things aren't as bad as it seems, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got Roy Keane, who's just lays into them. I think Roy Keane just hates everything about Man U these days. But yeah, anyway, I am going to end the stream there. So I wasn't planning on doing a long one today. It was more just about getting everything set up and ready. I had to create like a new OBS profile and stuff, so I'm glad it's working. I do have the stream open on my one window, and the camera. Looks like I need to do something with the camera quality. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the stream. And thank you very much for taking part and talking. It's really appreciated. So, Benj, Jojo, and Yenke, really appreciate you being involved today. I am looking to stream much more. It probably won't be like an everyday thing, because I remember when I used to stream like me gaming, I used to hate doing everything, like doing it every day. But I think during the international break, it'll be good to like have some chats, have some banter. We'll think of some topics to talk about and so on and so forth. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you had a great time. To anyone else who's watching and lurking, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do. I am going to do more live streams. There'll be more videos coming out as well. When the international break's finished, I'm going to do a lot more of the tactical breakdowns of the different games, match reviews, so on and so forth. The stuff that I have been doing. And of course, if there's any news regarding contracts or transfer gossip and so on and so forth, I'll be doing that as well with the videos. I thought, as it's a quiet day, get the live streaming going. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will speak to you all in the next one, which I'll be honest, I'll probably do another live stream tomorrow around about the same PM, same time, which is about 8 PM UK time. So hopefully I'll see you all then, and if not, I'll catch you all in the next time. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care, everyone.